Welcome back to the Growth Formula. My name is Katlego Mokoto. So on our last episode, Eliah touched on a very important point. He spoke about how businesses that endure don't necessarily endure because they have the right answers, but they endure because they have the right questions. So then what happens when a business grows? Shouldn't growth on itself solve everything? So joining us again to talk more about this topic for today, it's Eliah. Welcome back, Eliah.
Thank you so much.
Thank you very much for joining us. So the fact that a business is growing itself, shouldn't it mean that we should not experience any problems in our businesses? I mean, more revenue, more employees, everything should be perfect.
Should be better.
Yes. Shouldn't then it means that the business should be flowing and we shouldn't be having any problems in our businesses?
Thank you for that. There's one thing you said in your opening there, or when you're asking this question, that stuck with me in my mind for a bit. When you said growth should solve problems. So here's the myth that I think most business owners sit with, is that if we grow, we make more money. But literally, even to me, it makes sense, right? It should make sense to you that if you're bigger, you've got more revenue, you've got more branches, you've got more, if it's transport, more fleet. It surely should make more money. You're invoicing, if you're invoicing $1 million, you're invoicing $2 million, right? But that's not the case. And that's there's a reason why it stuck with me. It's not the case because growth itself, if you're growing as a founder, when you're small as a founder, just you, there's the problems that you experience as a small business doesn't evaporate because you're now big. That's where the key is. The problems you were having as a small company, as a founder alone, they don't run away or disappear because all of a sudden you become big. So let's say, for example, you were having one problem as a founder, right? And then the key when you're small, why it works is that as a founder, you can take that. So problems are part and parcel of life in business. Remember, do you know what a business is? A business is a system that focuses on solving problems. So if you're a transport business, you are solving a problem whereby somebody sitting there needs this product, which is sitting here. Then you say, let me solve that problem by getting that product there. So problems are inherent to business. So when you're small as a founder, so what you do, that the level of that problem is also smaller. So you kind of suck it up as a founder. It becomes, you can absorb it. But then as you scale, you can only take so much as a human being. So what then happens is that, let's say you have got one truck and you're in transport, or you've got one store, you're in e-commerce, right? You can manage those problems. But then as you compound, they are multiplying. Remember, when the revenue is multiplying, the problems are also multiplying with it. They don't. You don't multiply revenue alone. The problems which were there at R1 million or at $1 million, they are gonna compound when you get to $2 million. So they compound with it. So the key is that at $1 million, you were absorbing it as the owner. You managed. But at 2, at 5, at 10, it becomes too much. It becomes too much for you to absorb it. Then the problems are now exposed. So what growth does, it actually exposes the problems which are already there, but they are now scaled. When you're scaling, you're also scaling your problems. So growth, it just makes them visible because you can't absorb them as the owner. That's really what happens.
So are you saying that then when a business is still at the developing stage, some of the problems won't be visible up until there is growth? Then that's where some
100%.
of the problems will
That's exactly what I'm saying. Because when you're small, you carry your pain. It's like what do you call it? It's like grief, right? When you can fake what do you call it? A small challenge you had. Like, let's say you are mad about something, right? Something small. You can have it and say like, I'm good. But while something's bothering you inside. But if somebody close at you dies, that's a bigger problem for you to carry. You know what I'm saying? You burst in tears. So that's what like that. So these problems at this point are small enough for you as the owner to say, you are doing fine. You manage them. because business is about managing problems. But then when they compound, it won't be enough. It won't be enough. And let me give you an example of this. Let's take, for example, a car. All right. If a vehicle has got a wheel alignment issue, if it's traveling at 40 miles an hour, you don't really see the problems, right? Let it go to 140 miles with the wheel alignment. That wheel will come off. You understand? So you are good to your point. So the speed exposes now the problem. The problem didn't compound. The wheel alignment problem didn't compound because the speed increases. No, the speed just exposes where the problem is. The same applies to growing businesses. Once you grow, it just exposes the problem which was already there. So there's a saying I said in one of the episodes saying, the vision of you as a founder or as a business owner, which is required when you start a business, is not the same vision that is required when you're scaling it. You can't do both. You gotta go with the flow. As you compound, there's a formula that's required, which is not the formula required when you're starting it. So growth exposes those problems. And what's key there is to, as a founder and owner, is to realize that not only me, I'm not the only one now required on this. I need to put a different system, because at this level, a certain system was required. At this level, certain systems are required.
Okay, so basically you're saying that growth itself is the problem.
Yes and no. Because in the sense, we all want to grow. You want to have, you want to grow your business. You want to have more shops, more trucks, increase your revenue. But there, when you want to do that, it's a good thing. Where it becomes a problem is actually exposing the weakness or the weak areas that are inherent in the business. That's where the problem comes. Because if you look at it, when you're a founder and you've got one person, for example, right, working for you, or two people working for you, you don't need HR or management, or what do you call it, staff management skills. Because probably there's just one person who you have to tell, no, where are you, whatever the case is. That team then now becomes 20. Right? Do you see the complexity? Now HR skills, people management skills are now required. When you and your one person, there's no HR systems required there. Look at this. So now you have moved from 2 people to 20. Then there's issues of lateness. Let's say people are coming late to work. So you wait for all 20 of them. You'll be calling all 20 of them. Instead like, where are you? Where are you? How long is it going to take you to do that? Some people want to go on leave, right? So you're going to sit now as the founder and record their leave. And you remember when it's just you. I was saying, no, Kato took leave last month, 2 days, right? I'll remember that. Then before that, she took another 3 days then. I'll remember that, right? But if you're 20 people, will you remember that? You won't. You won't remember. Now a system is required. A leave management system is, an HR system is required to manage that. Do you see the difference? Because the fact that there is a system, if Katla was coming late to work, it doesn't necessarily mean she's going to come early because you are now, you now multiplied your business or your growth. No, the problem still remains. Your Katla will still come late to work, but the system to manage her lateness needs to change, because it's not only her. Now there's Rose also is coming late. You understand? So now you need a system to manage that. You can't just manage the way you're doing it. Katla, why are you late? Please come to work early. You know what I'm saying? Now there's a bunch of these problems that we're sitting with, people issues, that you cannot manage it by phone, what we're doing. You see? So growth then actually just amplifies that. There's nothing new when a business grows. It just exposes what you are sitting with. Right. That's what it does. Yeah.
So then, is there a way that a business that was small,
Yeah.
and then now it's elevated, and now has grown?
Yeah.
Like, is there a way? Like, how do we close the gap between a small business now growing to a more bigger business? How do we close that transition between the two?
I think the key part is the realization as a founder. If it's a founder-led business, is the realization that what's needed of me now where the business is not the same of what's needed near there, right? Because you know, complexity doesn't come from nowhere. We create it. So when a business is small, the founder, the processes will sit here. I will know that this and this and this and this is the whole business process or the whole business system. I will know that's the business will sit here, right? And I will tell Katlego to say, Katlego, do that, and that's it. But as the business grows, the challenge is this: if it continues to sit here, how is everybody else going to know? The rest of the people. Is the founder going to sit down and talk to everybody every day to transfer that knowledge from the founder to 20 people? To say so that's where the founder becomes a bottleneck. I think we're talking about that, because now everything is sitting in your head. Everybody's waiting for you to tell them what needs to happen next. Do you see where the problem is? So that's the challenge. So if you see that as a founder, or when you're running a business, look at this. Say, right, we are no longer 2 people, we are now 10. How best can we do this? That's how you solve it. Because let me give you an example of a logistic business. 1 contract, 2 trucks, 2 drivers or 3 drivers. The owner can pick up a phone and say, listen, where are you? Did you do this? Did you do that? You know, they can manage that. So take that business, then it gets a contract, it multiplies to 60 people, or 50 people, or 30 people, right? You have got 5 sites, 5 warehouses, right? So when as the owner, when there's a problem, you pick up a phone and say like, hey, do that, hey, do that. Now you have got 4 different sites, you have got 60 drivers, and you've got a fleet of 20 trucks. So you're gonna sit there and pick up a phone and say like, hey, will you even remember all the 20 drivers? And where is who going where? Who is going where at what time? You won't remember that. So now a different new system. And so what then if you continue the fund like that, you know what's gonna happen? A very profitable contract on paper becomes a loss. Because everybody now, let's say there's trucks we need to go for service, right? The decisions will be queuing, waiting for you. And that's where the challenge is. And the world doesn't revolve around a person. Let's get that right. So the decisions are queuing, waiting for you to authorize them. Remember, you've got your own life that you are carrying as a founder as well, or as a manager. So now you've got all these things waiting for you, and people wait. They know we can't take this truck for service until he says yes. So that truck is going to be driven past the service period. Do you see how? Because they are waiting for a decision. That your decision will come 4 days later. Do you see where that complexity is? Your decision, it will come 4 days later, and the truck is already running on mileage while it's supposed to be serviced. And that's the challenge you face. Then you are breaking already things that are there because you are keeping things. So looking at that, you then start to make losses on a profitable contract. That's how you start making losses, because there was a decision queue waiting for you. When you were small, remember there was no queue because there was not so many decisions to make. You were making decisions on one side, right? You had 2 drivers. You could pick up a phone. They'll say like, no, we need to go for something. Then say go. But now, as the business grows, your role changes. Additional duties. It just compounds. So that's where the challenge is. So you start making a loss from a contract like that. But then you look at on the other side, if the fund just does it differently. Right now we've got 4 sites. Great, 4 warehouses. Right, I'm gonna have 4 senior people at each and every depot. Right, this is your decision-making authority. You can send for truck for service when it gets to the point of service. This is what you can do. When you reach this point, you escalate. So people start operating without you. You see, the challenge is the complexities within Hubbard, and everything needs to come back here. Then when they start operating without you, trucks are not going to miss service. Your customers will get refunds without you because they won't be frustrated. But it all boils down to what structure do you put in place before you grow. Because some of growth which actually happens, for example, like contract business, you don't prepare for it. You win it and you're celebrating it, right? It doesn't wait for you to say, hey, are you ready? No, you get that contract business, then and when that happens, that's when you need to stop and apply the growth formula and say, like, is our system ready for this level of business? Because when you don't ask that question, you just continue. So you don't transition from a 2 people to 10 people kind of business, like in a formal way, or say in a practical way, to say, right, before we do this, let's stop. Our operations have changed now. Let's plan this. How can we work this efficiently? But you then, just because of excitement, whatever the case, you just continue. And the framework needed to run a 20-man business and a 2-man business is not the same. So that's what then happens. So it's really about growth itself just exposes the challenges that you already have. But if you have got a plan in place, you can tell this. So you can tell this by actually sharing the problems. So the point is not that problems disappear. Problems are inherent part of life and business. They don't disappear. It's about the management of them. It's a point you made earlier on, that businesses that actually do well, it's not because that they've got the right answers. They ask the right questions. And when asking the right questions, you are trying to identify the problems. And so growth just exposes what's already there. It doesn't go and create new problems. No. The problem was there, but now it's been compounded. It's just, as you multiply, the problems are doing the same. There's no, we're multiplying revenue, problems you should be getting less. No, we're going together. Problems are part and parcel of us. We go together. Right? Together. So we've got to understand that. All you need to do is to say, now we are bigger. We've got 20 people, 30 people. Let's share the problems. Other than sitting with one person, they become too much. That's all we have to do.
That's a very good point. So what I'm picking up from what you're saying is that with growth, it's important for businesses to grow. I mean,
yeah.
Our listeners also want to grow, obviously.
Yeah.
So what I'm picking up is that you're saying that as much as our businesses are growing,
yeah,
let's also, make time to also assess how our systems are working, so that we can be counter effective also and make sure that our businesses are aligned. Growth and systems, everything is aligned together.
100%. And the challenge is that you actually die as an owner. You suffer from your 1,000 decisions. You suffer from this problem that you need to make all these decisions, which you don't have to. You have to make 1,000 decisions, while you need to make 5. Why can't we share those 1,000 decisions and make it lighten the burden? But everything comes back to you, and now you carry that burden of these 1,000 decisions that are waiting for you, queuing for you. It's you hold it yourself. Let's see the problems. Don't die within your 1,000 decisions that you've got.
I was going to ask you for an example, but you've already given us an example of a logistic company that you once know.
Yeah.
So what I want to ask about that logistic company is that what ended up happening with that logistic company?
So actually the restructuring happened, and the point I just made now about sharing the load. What ended up happening is just giving the people authority. You run that side, this is where you operated. You run this side, this is where you operated. And the decisions which are strategic come back to the owner. Then people continue to operate. That's it. And then a turnaround appears. Then you see that what was a bad contract, or what was a good contract in the beginning, became a good contract, right? Not because something magically happened. It's just understanding that the complexities that we are adding in business are necessary. Let's use division of labor. You do that, you handle that. Then when you get to a certain level, then let's say this will be escalated to senior manager, whatever the case is. And then the business turned around. Yeah, that's what it's all about. Yeah.
So you're saying that as business owners, let us not get the pressures, that comes with these complexities, take over our business such that we find ourselves now feeling so much under pressure that we don't even see the brighter future. The brighter.
100%.
Yeah.
So when you are so surrounded by a lot of these decisions, I talk about the ego. Sometimes your ego wants that. I'm at the center of this. I'm CEO, you know what I mean, of this business, and I have to make all these decisions. That ego can blindside you. It will blindside you. And I don't believe that one person, he can be so good at everything. I don't believe that. Like, how were you created? Different from others. That you are so good here from A to Z. How does that work? So you get blindsided by these decisions that all you have to make and say, everything starts with you. You are the alpha and omega of the business. And then it blindsides you. It slows everybody. Everybody will sit and wait for you. A business is a system that needs to operate with you as the founder. Sleeping, that's a business. When you are sleeping, your business should be functioning. That's a business. Not like some form of hobby that relies on you. That's, I don't know what to even call it. Your business should be functioning while it's on holiday. Your business should be functioning while you are dead. It should continue functioning, okay? That's a business. It needs to function. So when you allow that to displace that power to your people, and another thing is that get your help. One of the most clever things to do in business is to know that where we have reached now is beyond my capacity. Let's take it further. Let's go and get outside the help. It's okay to go and get somebody to come and help you. Put the structures in place. You will look great in your business. You know, one thing that I just want to mention to you, which is what growth does, is this. Everything looks great on paper. We are invoicing more, we are hiring, we're not firing. You know what I'm saying? And I know this excitement. You know, we bought another, bought another truck. If it's in logistics, we open a new branch. You know what I'm saying? We increase our people. Look at my team. But let me tell you something. These struggles which they don't tell you about inside, the survival mode which is happening in the owner is dying inside, the founder is dying inside, but they go out there and like, we're doing great, we're hiring, and they don't mind putting it out on socials. We're hiring, you know, we need to. What is inside in the business? It's a kind of like, we'll make it at the end of the month situation, you know, and that's what owners and founders do. They make it look glorious, and when you allow that to happen, when you allow that to happen, it's dangerous because it's a fake it situation. No, we are growing, and for real you are. You have hired more people. Let me tell you something. Those people need to get paid at the end of the month. So your bank account doesn't increase because when you based on your excitement. It doesn't work like that. Those people need to get paid at the end of the month. Those trucks or whatever that business is, the rent needs to be paid on that new branch. The landlord won't ask for excitement. They want their check, okay? so that's then when but at a small scale, you see those problems, you can hide them. Then the owner is moving money from there to there. Once it becomes big, that rental bill is no longer at 12,000 or whatever, 20,000. Now it becomes 80. So you can't just patch it like what you were doing when you're faking it. You see, there you were faking and making, no, we're hiring, we're great. You see, we opened a new branch. And you can manage, at a small scale, you can manage, you can patch it. You take your money here, cover it, you move things around. So if you move the same number of puzzles or pieces of the puzzle, you are not increasing them. But once it then becomes bigger, then that bill becomes 100,000. Then you don't have 100,000 in your bank account. Yes. So I always say this: growth is exciting, and your cash flow starts knocking. Okay. it's very exciting growing, and you're telling people. And I don't know what causes this. We wanna be seen doing great. You're telling people. Do you see? We just added our fleet is great now. My staff, you know, I've got increased my staff. Yeah, and I've opened new branches. Yes, we opened new stores. You know, we go on social media and put it out there. You take a picture of the store. What people do not see is the rental invoice that comes with that. You don't post it up there. That one you leave it in the background. So those small problems compound at a bigger level. The rental for one branch you opened, you can move money and manage. But now it's 5. It's that problem compounded 5 times. You understand? That's where the problem happened. That's where the issue happened. So growth it's actually just it just reveals the truth that's already there. That you were not managing, you were not ready for growth. That's what it does. So you were thinking you were fine, but you are not. You were short, your cash flow was bad. You were patching with your own money here, you move money here, you move. Now that you can move a 5,000, 100, that you can move it very quickly. That one is heavy. So growth just exposes what's already there. That's what it does. Growth doesn't invent anything. Let's not lie about to each other about that. No. It doesn't invent anything. It just exposes what was inherently there. It was always there, but we're patching. That's what we're doing. Check this, cover here. No, we're fine for this month. For 5 branches, that one you're not so fast. No, that one you will be left exposed. So it's better to fix your systems when it's still small. Get it right at a 1 branch level. Get it right there. Make it right. But the thing is, we want to grow too quickly. Our goal is to run. I want to do great. Stop. You're going to cry. This excitement is going to make you cry. That's how it's going to work. Just at a small level, fix it there. So that when you compound, your level, your problems, because I'm not saying problems will disappear, but then you are compounding not with big problems. But we want to compound thinking that compounding would make problems disappear. But actually, we don't think, a lot of founders or managers, they don't see it that way. They just think that if you've got a cash flow problem, right? If you make it 2 branches, it will disappear. It doesn't work. So and this is the truth. I'm telling you right now. If you've got cash flow problems with 1 branch, you're gonna have double cash flow problems with the 2 branches. Because you are not. It's like giving a person a painkiller. You're not treating a problem. You're just putting a cover on it. A pill, you're not treating. You need to diagnose why do we have a cash flow problem? No, because our customers pay late. Why did your customers pay late? Because there is no enforcement, or there is no policy, there's no contract in place. Right? Why don't we have a contract? We never put it in place. So you want to tell me when you've got 2 branches now, a contract is just going to appear and customers start paying on time? That's what I tell me. So your customers were paying late when you have 1 branch. You didn't put in a structure. So now you've got 2 branches. Then all of a sudden, then they start paying. That's what you want to tell me? That's the problem. Now you had 5 customers who are paying late. Now you're going to have double that number. So we are giving a pill to a person who's having a headache instead of finding why is Katla having a headache. That's the problem. You know what makes a doctor great? Is to diagnose what's causing the disease, not to go and say, let me operate you. You'll be operated without a problem. The doctor needs to identify, why is this person saying my back is hurting? That's what they need to do. Then they say, no, the back is hurting because of that. Let's go deal with that. Then the back stops hurting. The knees stop hurting, right? That's what we need to do. So I think the key part for me is very simple. Growth exposes what's already there. And I'm saying to a manager, to an entrepreneur, or to a founder, if you're having a problem in your business, before you grow, deal with it. Deal with it. If you don't, you are just multiplying it. So it becomes bigger and it's going to expose you. And you know, if you've got a certain habit, when you continue doing it, it compounds. So now you're doing it at a large scale, okay? you are compounding your problems. And that's the challenge. And people don't see that that excitement is the way the challenge sits. Deal with that problem at a smaller scale so that when you get to a higher level, you are not compounding a bigger problem. If you compound it with a smaller problem, you can manage. But if you don't, I'm sorry, it's going to multiply too, okay? It will multiply too. Unfortunately, that's the truth of the matter. Yeah.
So, Eliah, then what is the biggest lesson that our listeners should take from this episode?
I think there's just one key thing. Growth doesn't punish you for succeeding.
That's it for today's episode. Thank you very much, everyone, for joining us. We'll be seeing you in the next episode. Bye.